Coming up next is Kristen Fontana's Guiding Stars, Evolutionary Astrology, here on HealthyLife.net Radio. Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Listening to Guiding Stars, Evolutionary Astrology Radio. This is your host, Kristen Fontana, and I'm here with Rose Marcus from Vancouver, Canada. We are here to discuss the transits for the end of September moving into October. Welcome back, Rose.
Thank you very much, Kristen.
And is there anything you would like to announce before we get started?
Well, yes, I am excited to be presenting at the Canadian Astrology Conference this weekend. Which is September 24th to 26th, and I'm speaking on the 26th, and my lecture is on Pluto in Aquarius. So it's a fantastic conference. There's some great speakers. Keynote is Denitra George, and it's a really, really good program. So if anyone out there is listening and has time to join over the weekend, that information is on my website, or you can just put Canadian Astrology Conference into your web browser, and I'm sure it will come up.
All right, excellent. Well, today we are just the day after, recording this the day after the fall equinox. We were talking before we went live about how the sun is changing, at least the fall equinox up in the northern hemisphere. For those of you down in Australia, it's what are these, spring? And so we feel a difference right away, and I'm just grateful for blue skies here in the Northwest. It's been glorious. But we've been all also experiencing 5 outer planets retrograde since probably about the middle of August, when Uranus finally joined the crew. So we've got all 5 outer planets retrogrades. 3 will move direct next month. But before that happens, we have Mercury again. Mercury's going to be moving retrograde on Monday.
Absolutely, and I don't know about you, Kristen, but I've already been feeling it this week.
Oh, yeah.
It's just been all those silly things going, the typical Mercury retrograde, Murphy's Law cycle, as I call it.
Yes. Oh, I heard something for the first time, and I'm feeling like, how could I have never heard this before? Maybe you've heard this expressed in the same way. We call it the shadow, right? Mercury retrograde shadow. You can feel it well before. But a fellow astrologer, friend of mine, was calling it the retro shade, which I thought was very cool.
I like that.
Isn't that cool? I've never heard that.
The retro shade, yeah.
Retro shade instead of retrograde. But I have to share my retrograde story. So when I was able to tell my daughter, we were up in Seattle. I was helping my son move, and my daughter and I were driving back to Ashland, and we always stop at our favorite cafe to get. It's just super healthy, and one of the ingredients they always have, and whatever they call them yum bowls, right? They're just filled with rice and black beans and chicken or tofu or whatever it is that you eat, and they're super healthy, super amazing. And but the one ingredient you got to have is avocado, right? I mean, that's just part of it. It's part of what makes it perfect, and it's the color, it's everything. It just makes it beautiful. And they were out of avocado. I mean, it just felt tragic. Like, how does a place like yours, where it's like one of your top 5 ingredients, how do you be out of that? And I'm like, Mercury's not even retrograde yet, but yeah, this is what we call the retro shade. And it was such a bummer. But
may all your problems be so small.
I know, right? And I did think about that. I'm like, well, at least the sky's blue today. I think I'll take that over no avocado any day of the week. So that was my simple, but it can be the they can run the gamut of things that we experience under the retrograde. Anything you have?
Oh, absolutely. And Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Libra, by the way, right? So that thing's kind of moving from one extreme to another, just kind of switching gears. And it's about relationships and about how you're evaluating many different things. And as Mercury changes course, then it is a reevaluation, reassessment time. Sorry, I wanted to say something else altogether. I went there, but what I did want to say is that each Mercury retrograde is unique unto itself, don't you think?
Mm-hmm, totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and sometimes Mercury retrograde surprises you by not being as bad as you think
That's true.
Be, right? So I mean, I think that people tend to make a big deal out of Mercury retrograde, and you can't stop life, and annoyances happen all the time, or things go, kind of askew every now and again, right? You just have to roll with it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or give yourself a little more time and not put so much pressure on when things have to happen.
Exactly, right? So, yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, and we've said this before, but if you're a new listener or you're new to astrology, if you were born with Mercury retrograde, it tends to benefit you when it is retrograde because it can feel more direct. It isn't always true. I was born with Mercury retrograde, and I've definitely had excellent Mercury retrograde periods in my life where I finally felt something was moving forward, or, my friends would say, you booked the rental car because it's retrograde or whatever. And it's always been true, no problems. Maybe we got upgraded for free. But I've also had definitely windows where I've been hit hard. So you're right. It does have to depend on, it does depend on the person. It depends on the sign that it's in. It depends on the house that it's in, the aspects it's making for you. So these are all things to consider during this trend. And so we've got Mercury retrograde, and this is the big one, though. It's retrograde in Libra, and it's squaring Pluto. So what happens is, it's squaring Pluto longer than we'd like for it to square Pluto, put it that way, right? Because Mercury tends to move really fast, and any kind of pressure to Pluto is typically not very comfortable. Mercury does rule the North Node in Gemini right now because Mercury rules the sign of Gemini. And so everybody's going through a Plutonian turn right now relative to this. Like, what is it that's going on in your life that is either testing you, whether it's, what are the best steps to move my life forward? What is it that my soul wants? Is this relationship working for me? What is it that I need to say to that person? What feels unresolved? And so there's a lot of pressure. Like, certain things really need to happen, I would say, in the next probably 2 months, because if it retrogrades back, it's got to then come forward again. So it's literally going to be squaring Pluto till probably the beginning of November.
Well, exactly. And it first squared Pluto on September 22nd, which was yesterday. So this cycle is keeping something under pressure. I just, the news today is Canadian news, but Prime Minister Trudeau was in hot water a couple of years ago over this NSC-Lavalin controversy. And it is about, it's a huge construction company. It's international, and about favoritism, right? And so he was in such hot water for that about a year ago, I guess, 2 years ago. And that all kind of, fell by the wayside. Well, today it's back in the news. And two of the main, head honchos here have gotten charged with fraud and forgery. So, Mercury retrograde bringing things back, right? It's another round. And doesn't that just describe, Capricorn squaring that Mercury, right? It's just interesting. Things come back. They can come back to bite you. Sometimes, Mercury retrograde, it's always going to be a review and a reassessment. And I just wanted to say that the thing with a retrograde planetary symbol, whatever it is, and especially with Mercury. Mercury retrograde, if you're born with Mercury retrograde, it is what I call selective viewing. So the soul is already focused in on what it wants to learn, what it wants to know, what it wants to review, right? So I like that influence because it doesn't waste time with superfluous. It's gonna focus in on the key issues that the soul is wanting to look at and see. And
what did you call it?
Selective viewing. Viewing, yeah. It's very targeted. Mercury retrograde is interested in A, B, and C, and it's not interested in D, E, and F. It doesn't really matter right now. I'm going to focus in on these things. I always say that Mercury retrograde is key circumstances, key people, and key messages. Right? It's all of that. It gets down to that. So that's the beauty of this, and especially with Pluto. Pluto is going to uncover something, right? So it's going to target, and Pluto happens to be retrograde right now as well, too. So it's going to target whatever the priorities are of the moment that you need to review, that you need to, and, Mercury is an archetype of observation, right? It's about the perception. How are you perceiving things? And, it's all about the mental construct, your ideas, your opinions, your perceptions on things. And as Mercury and Pluto are in square, and Mercury turning direction, you get a different insight. You get a different perception on things. Maybe your opinion changes on that thing or that person or that it, right? And
totally.
That's the purpose of this transit, right?
So I just thought of something, because a couple of things. I love that you brought this up too. Pluto can be about proving yourself to somebody, or just proving something to yourself or to someone else, I should say. So with Mercury squaring Pluto, someone could get a different impression of you. It would be like a coach thinking you are this kind of player, and then you do something else, and like, wow, I mean, that was something I didn't know you could do, So they're seeing something else, they're seeing another side to you, or maybe in a work environment, maybe you've been really quiet, and then all of a sudden you speak up in a meeting, and you have an opinion about something, and someone's like, wow, look at that, I didn't know that. She had that in her, he had that in him. So I think, Pluto is so much about empowering ourselves as well with our life and our choices. And the retrograde can allow us to go back to something and do it again. But it is also Pluto, the planet of karma. So for people like in the case you were talking about, Rosa, in the case where people have maybe done shady things, or retro shade, done shady things, or, weren't honest, or there's some karma that they've collected, this could come back too.
Exactly. And Mercury is traveling right now in the sign of Libra, retrograding in Libra, and at the moment Venus is in the sign of Scorpio, which is near Pluto, and that Venus is on its way to trining Neptune as well, too, so it exposes, right? So it uncovers, exposes, reveals, right? So
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in particular, too, with Mercury being in the sign of Libra, this does feel very relationship-related, and Pluto can be people that have the power to help you, or people that have the power to
hinder you.
Do the opposite. So, people that hold the cards to your future. I mean, it's all of that. It just depends. Not everybody's going to experience Pluto in the same vein, in the same light, in the same way. So it just depends on how it's all lining up in your own chart.
Absolutely. But it is a point to make. Mercury retrograde, it's about second looks, and it can be about second chances as well, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Mercury-Pluto square started yesterday, September 22nd. It perfects on October 1st. And that's the second round, and the final Mercury-Pluto will be November 2nd. So we're kind of in this, this channel of time and you might find that something, a circumstance has opened up for you, or a relationship issue. You have started moving through some kind of evaluation process. You're watching something develop, something along this line. It might take through the beginning of November for you to really, get complete with that, with this part of the process.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Well, if nothing else, I would say, at the very least, is a better way to say that, to give yourself the time to know what it is that you want to say, how you want to go about things. Don't rush or force anything with all these retrogrades still in place, at least until October 6th, which is the first outer planet that stations direct Pluto. I feel like it's important to really drop into the essence of what you want to experience at this time, or what it is that your intentions are, to really drop into the center of it. And that the retrogrades do allow for a slower pace, essentially. They demand it, really.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And a reminder as well, too, that the transiting nodes, or the karmic axis, as I like to refer to it, we have a south node moving through the sign of Sagittarius, and we have a north node moving through the sign of Gemini. And they're getting, they're going to finish out that 18-month cycle at the end of the year. But what they do is they punch up the rulers of those signs. So the North Node ruler, being in Gemini, punches up whatever Mercury is doing, right? So it intensifies the observational track, the communication track, the connect the dots track, how you're mobilizing and how you're moving from one thing to another, whether that's an idea or, a circumstance or relationship, right? Whatever it is. And interestingly as well, too, Mercury does this dance with Pluto, dynamic tension, right? A square aspect, which is a corner turn aspect, is the way I like to reference that, but it's activating. And at the same time, Mercury is trining Jupiter as well, too, this month as well. So on the 3rd of October, Mercury will be in trine to Jupiter. And it had its first trine on this full moon that just passed for us here in Canada. That was Election Day in Canada. And those 3 dates, October 3rd and October 31, Mercury will be trine Jupiter. Right. Right. Lovely aspect. Yeah. Jupiter's in the sign of Aquarius. At the start of the month, Jupiter is retrograde. At the end of the month, it is direct. And we're going to get into this. We've got a lot to talk about this month, but I just have to toss this in as well, too. The fact that they're a planetary pair. And Jupiter is retrograde, and it's going to turn direct on the 17th of October. And Mercury, which is turning retrograde on the 26th, turns direct on the 18th of October, so one right after the other. I think we will go to station break, and we'll be back in a minute.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Okay, you're stressed. You need a little R&R. Wouldn't go into a spa help? There's all kinds of spas, too. Destination spas, medical spas, day spas, even dental and mobile spas. Where do you find the right spa at the right price? Oh, no, more stress? Well, not anymore. Visit spafinders.com. At spafinders.com, you'll find everything you need to know about spas from around the world. So de-stress. Click on spafinders.com right on our homepage. Ah, I'm feeling relaxed already.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way or spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
Water. In the hot summer sun, water is a natural thought, like relaxing at the beach with the waves lapping at your feet, or perhaps being with your significant other under a secluded, gently cascading waterfall. If you want a little more action, how about water skiing or boating on an icy, clear blue lake? With Expedia.com, everything you need for travel, flights, hotels, cruises, vacation packages, they have it all at a price you can afford. Go to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Expedia.com.
I'm William Shatner, and this is Jimmy. Animals like Jimmy are often left behind by people fleeing hurricanes, fires, floods, and earthquakes. These abandoned animals cannot survive on their own. If you must evacuate your home, please never leave an animal behind. If you absolutely cannot take your animal with you, never leave him helplessly chained or caged. Many animals die because they cannot escape fires or rising waters. Animals need your help. Thank you.
Call PETA today, 757-622-PETA.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
Okay, we have returned. Sorry for that. If you heard any choppiness, we had our own Mercury retrograde experience here. I was asking you, Rose, on the same day, the 18th, don't they both move direct, Jupiter and Mercury?
Oh, and that's what you missed online, our Mercury retrograde. Jupiter turns direct on the 17th, and Mercury turns direct on the 18th.
Okay.
So one right after the other, which I think is pretty, they're the rulers of the nodes, the nodal axis, they're a team, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's huge.
Yes.
So I thought they were on the same day. I probably was very close. I mean, very close to each other, obviously, very in common.
In actuality, Jupiter stations direct at like 10:30 at night, and Mercury turns direct at 8 a.m. the next morning.
Okay, so if you live in Europe or if you live on the East Coast, it is the same day.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's a huge thing. I mean, just can't reinforce this enough. If you think about those rulers, Jupiter rules the South Node in Sag, Mercury rules the North Node in Gemini, so they are working together. A stationary signature is like, it gives it more juice. It is more pronounced. It can be like a benchmark or an exclamation point in your life. A very significant day. Not only that, Jupiter and Mars are trining each other that day.
Yes.
Exact.
Yes.
So with Jupiter stationary, trining Mars in the sky, oh my gosh. Like if somebody said, Kristen, what are your top 5 favorite transits? I might say a Jupiter-Mars trine. Or maybe Jupiter trining someone's natal Mars, or Jupiter conjunct a Mars. I mean, Jupiter-Mars combinations are extraordinarily, expansive and potentially auspicious. You attract what you energize. And so it all depends on what you're feeding, right, in terms of what you experience. If you're walking around in a grumpy mood all day, that transit is just going to give you more things to be grumpy about. Because Mars is squaring Pluto. So it's like if you're holding on to the past or you have a grudge or you're feeling resentment, you may not be able to really benefit from that transit. So it's important that you really release what's holding you back, any fears, and just release it as best as you can, so Jupiter can bring in the blessing that it wants to bestow upon you.
Absolutely. I mean, the Mars-Jupiter is going to give you excellent traction, and it will help you to go the distance. This is like really you get a lot of mileage out of this transit, right? It is excellent. And it is a point to make that this kind of cluster, we need to get back to that new moon, but while we're here.
We skipped around a little here.
It's Mercury. It's the Mercury piece. We'll tie it all together in the end. But on the 15th, we have a Sun trine Jupiter, right? So this is setting itself up. On the day that Jupiter stations direct, we also have Sun square Pluto as well, too. So we've got this kind of run of stars that come up between the 15th, kind of setting up for Jupiter to turn direct, for Mercury to turn direct, and of course things that have happened earlier in the month that are getting us to the place where we need to be so that we can springboard and keep going, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So.
And carrying on with that, just a couple of days later, there's a full moon as well, too, which is really punched up with Mars and Pluto. But we should.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So
let's talk about the next new moon first.
Yeah, we should go there. Okay. So the new moon is on October 6th, and it is a new moon in Libra, 13 degrees. And the intensity of this particular new moon, like we have both the new moon and the full moon are punched up energies because the new moon is conjunct Mars, right? That's a very, very, very strong dynamic aspect. So we've got Mercury still in position that's trining the Jupiter. It's still kind of in a holding pattern with that. And on the, Pluto stationing direct on that day.
Yeah.
That's a really potent thing. So you were talking about this before. When a planet is turning direction, it is slowing down in its orbit, and then it does what we call station, direct or retrograde, and then it's going to pick up some speed. So it takes a bit of time for all that to happen. So when a planet is changing direction, its influence is amplified, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So, and, it's in the sign of Capricorn, and we have had... Mercury is, we've got Saturn in the sign of Aquarius as well, too. So, what do you say about this new moon, Kristen?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that Mercury is also retrograding back to, it's still within an orb of influence of the Sun, the Moon, and Mars. It is within 5 degrees of the Mars, and so it's active. Mercury is the ruler of that north node, and you've got this new moon, so it's it's extraordinarily kind of what's the word I want to use? It's
infused.
Yeah, that's the perfect word. I couldn't even. There's so much energy there, and it's interesting because Mars is a ruler of Aries, which is the opposite sign of Libra, where all these planets are, and so it can be an energy too where you are throwing something off. If you've been a real peacemaker around something in the past and you've had your fill, sort of reached your limit, you're going to be like, no, this is my time, my turn, this is the way it's going to be, and so I feel like, there's just a lot of fuel that it carries and a lot of fire.
Yeah.
And so if you harness the energy well, and you're thinking of others at the same time, it's not all about me, not to go about it in that way, to really consider all things. I think it can just be incredibly powerful. With Pluto stationed that day, that's just crazy. That's intense. And so we have Venus also in Scorpio, which is ruled by that Pluto, and it's at the 29th degree, so it carries this karmic flavor for sure.
Oh, undoubtedly, and adding to the kind of karmic flavor of that as well, too, that new moon is trining Ceres. Ceres is sitting at 12 Gemini, and the new moon is 13 Libra, so it's forming a lovely trine. And, Ceres in Gemini, I always think that Ceres is I call her the goddess of seasons. And, yes, she's got a lot to do with grief and, many, many different things, but she's the goddess of the seasons. So whenever she's being emphasized, you get like a new run at it. Let me put it that way. And it is Ceres in Gemini, and it's again perking up the energy, or contributing, supplying more fuel to the Mercury agenda, whatever that agenda might be for you. I wanted to say one other thing. Oh yeah, so the new moon, sitting in the middle of the week, there on the 6th of October, the new moon squaring Pluto, conjunct Mars. The next day, Sun and Mars conjoin, and Venus moves into Sagittarius. On the 8th, Ceres stations retrograde, so it's going to be having some kind of impact as well, too. And on the 9th, we have Mercury retrograde conjunct the Sun, and that is the midpoint peak of the retrograde cycle. I heard the station break. There's more to say about that whole thing, but suffice to say the week from the 3rd to about the 10th is a fully stacked week.
Yes, the whole month. I mean, come on.
Yes.
All right, more on that after the break. We'll be right back.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Have you ever wondered why you are here on this planet and what the point to all of this is? Evolutionary astrology is a natural science that allows for an understanding of the evolutionary journey of the soul from life to life. Evolutionary astrology provides a vehicle to understand prior life dynamics that have led to the reason and purpose for the life you live. It offers a depth of information and insights about each person that no other type of astrology can provide. As Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of evolutionary astrology, says,
for those who wish to unveil the depth of who you actually are, I would highly recommend that you seek out qualified evolutionary astrologers such as Kristen Fontana and other graduated students of the School of Evolutionary Astrology. For those who are considering becoming an astrologer to make it a natural career, I'd recommend that you consider Jeffrey Wolf Green's School of Evolutionary Astrology, where it will assist you in answering, and your clients answering a big question. Why am I here? Thanks for listening. God bless.
Okay, you're stressed. You need a little R&R. Wouldn't going to a spa help? There's all kinds of spas, too. Destination spas, medical spas, day spas, even dental and mobile spas. Where do you find the right spa at the right price? Oh, no, more stress? Well, not anymore. Visit spafinders.com. At spafinders.com, you'll find everything you need to know about spas from around the world. So de-stress. Click on spafinders.com right on our homepage. Ah, I'm feeling relaxed already.
Whether you're taking a short trip or traveling across the world, Magellans.com is the world's most trusted source for travel, and they guarantee 100% satisfaction. They have everything you need to make travel just a bit more pleasurable. Who doesn't like that? They have travel alarms, clothing, the best luggage, wallets, everything you need except the ticket. Visit the advertiser page on HealthyLife.net and click on Magellans Now. You will not only see their travel products, but get a free catalog and read articles with tips on how to make your travel easier. Visit the advertiser page and click on Magellans Now.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
All right, we are back. I'm here with Rose Marcus from Vancouver, Canada, and we're discussing the transits for the end of September into October. It's going to be a big fall, and it's going to be hopefully not a fall, but a rise to more of what you would like to do in your world. And you wanted to say a little more about this Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, so a point to make is that a retrograde cycle is that planet's relationship with the sun, right? From where we stand on Earth, right? So it is important to note when that retrograde cycle lines up with the sun. For Mercury, that's only going to be a conjunction. If we were talking about Mars retrograde, it would be an opposition, right? Mercury and Venus, stay close to the sun. So on October 9, the Sun and Mercury conjoin, and so that is the midpoint peak of the retrograde cycle, which is September 26th to October 18th. It's the midpoint of the cycle, but it's also starting a new phase. So it can be very subtle or it can be very strong, where you feel this kind of switch of there's been a developmental phase up till now. And then Mercury and the Sun join forces, and basically it's starting a new cycle. That will take us to the end of November, right? So again, a processing or a circumstance that is in a developmental phase until then, and you might just pay attention to that day and see, what is the impulse, or what are the downloads, or what are the insights, or what are you hearing, and what kind of action is going on that day. Too, the Mercury and the Sun line up with Mars. They're all at 16 degrees.
Whoa, look at that.
Right?
Yeah, and not only that, you've got the South Venus, which rules Libra, in Sag on the South Node with the Moon.
Yeah, exactly. And, Venus is 2, South Node is 2, and the Moon will cross over that.
Yes.
We might suggest that there's something very karmic in the works. You might feel that, some kind of karmic recall. And even if it's something brand new, which often happens during the retrogrades, something brand new comes in, but there's a sense of deja vu with it, or a sense of familiarity, or a sense of destiny or fate connected to that. It's bringing back something from the catalog of some other time and place.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I'm looking forward to see how that'll manifest. Question for you. You were talking about on the 9th, so we've got the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde, conjunct the Sun with Mars, all at 16 degrees. So wherever 16 degrees Libra is in your charts, pay attention to that. But what was at the end of November that was connected to this?
Oh, that will be when Mercury and the Sun join forces again. Right. Right now.
So in Sag. Ooh.
Yeah, and so what happens is that the cycle that we're in right now started August 1st. And that was the Sun and Venus together in the sign of Leo. That would have been a superior conjunction, which means that from our position on Earth, it would be Earth, Sun, Mercury, right? Mercury's kind of on the far side between us and the Sun. When it's inferior conjunction, Mercury's on the kind of the inside of the Sun, in relationship to the Earth, right? So on November 28th, the Sun and Mercury join forces again, 7 degrees Sagittarius, and they will be in superior conjunction. So an inferior conjunction is like the start of the cycle, and a superior conjunction is kind of like has the quality of a full moon, in terms of illumination, right? Being able to have the light turned up more so you can see. Right? Yeah.
Interesting. So did you say the November 28th was superior or inferior?
Superior.
Superior.
Inferior is the 9th of October.
The 9th is inferior.
Yeah.
Okay, the other interesting thing is on November 28th, because think about it, Saturn is 7 degrees of Aquarius right now and is retrograde, and will station, as we'll talk about, on November 11th, direct. October 11th. On November 28th, on the superior conjunction of the Sun and Mercury, Saturn is only at 8 Aquarius because it came through the retrograde, and it's forming a sextile to the Sun and to Mercury. So that feels significant. That feels like whatever you've been working on and cultivating and developing, any changes in your life that can secure themselves at that time. because Saturn will be direct. We've got the Sun and Mercury, which Mercury rules the North Node, forming a superior conjunction. Even Ceres is sitting on the North Node, which can be about recovering something from the past. And so, wow, I think that's an interesting little timeline.
It's a whole materialization. Well, really, we're just at the start of so much, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like it was a grind this year.
Definitely.
It's just been a grind. And so many people have been stalled out, I think, right? And we do have a Mercury retrograde, I think, which is just kicking things into gear, kind of shifting the patterning so that we can get going. And, oh, my God, what a month October is with all the planets turning direct.
Mm-hmm, 3 of them.
Pluto turns direct on the 6th. Saturn turns direct on the 10th. Jupiter turns direct on the 17th, and Mercury on the 18th. That's 4. Plus Ceres turning retrograde. That's so much planet
loaded
switching, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. It's got to shift the momentum for you in some way, right?
Right.
The direct takes the brakes off, whatever it is that's been in a holding pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember when we've had a month when there were so many significant days, right, that you keep calling out for different reasons. It just feels like pop, 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 pop.
Oh, yeah. It is quite amazing, and you tie that into 2 lunations, both new moon and full moon being punched up by the nature of Mars and Pluto, right? So, yeah, we're just about to hit the ground running on whatever it is that your soul has designed for you. We're going to hit it hard, I think.
Right. Let's talk about the full moon and the next full moon then.
Yeah, so the next full moon will be on the 20th of October, and that full moon is in Aries, 27 degrees Aries. I have to tell you something. This is just a personal thing. I was born on the full moon. And as you know, I was born on the full moon in Aries. So I have a sun in Aries at 27 degrees and a moon in Libra at 28 degrees, right? And this is my favorite full moon. When the full moon happens exactly opposite my sun moon, I'm at a creative peak. I've done, a painting or a photograph or a piece of writing or, or whatever it is. I feel so, infused with this really dynamic energy. And, in evolutionary astrology, we always talk about polarity points, the Pluto polarity point.
Yeah.
And this is where I have the sun, moon in reverse positions, right? So I gain the best out of the 2 of those. So, it'll be interesting to see. It's a full moon in Aries, right?
Right.
Aries Libra, so that brings to light, and you said this earlier, Kristen, that, it's about the Libra piece about you accommodating or acquiescing or keeping up appearances or what's polite or, going along with things and so on. And then Aries comes along and says, I can't put up with this anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, thankfully, Mars, which is part of this, it's going to be receiving an opposition from the full moon, is trining Jupiter at the same time. So there's this wonderful energy that kind of contributes to something creative, right? Kind of feeds you with more, presents you with an opportunity. And I really do feel like it requires us to be in touch with our emotional body in order to have these kinds of experiences that we want to have, whether it's a loving experience, a creative experience, a life-changing experience. We have to be in our emotional body, and the full moons will always do that. We're not thinking a lot under a full moon. We're feeling everything, typically.
Absolutely. And with Mars and Sun conjunct, I think the statement is reconciling with yourself. It's about the relationship you have with yourself, right?
Right.
First and foremost.
All right. We're going to move to a break, and we'll be right back.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
If you're like the 8 out of 10 women that say finding jeans that fit is a problem, well, your problem is solved. Lee Jeans has done extensive research, and they have jeans that fit. There's even an online Lee Fit Finder so you can find the right fit for you. Imagine jeans that instantly slim you with a custom fit and no gap waistband. And guys, kids, Lee has jeans for you too. Click through to Lee's Jeans on the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and get what fits.
Take one step towards spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
Oh, man, it never fails. My suitcase just got ripped apart.
Life is a journey. Make it a pleasant one. Use Samsonite. You know the name. For almost a century, Samsonite luggage has proved itself to be the worldwide leader in innovative travel solutions. Let it be yours. Visit HealthyLife.net's affiliate Samsonite on our homepage and click to look at the fine luggage from suitcases to golf travel bags. And don't forget, take a look at their travel accessories. Make life a journey, a pleasant one, with Samsonite.
In college, I took a lot of history and liberal arts classes, and frankly, I don't remember much of any of it. But as an adult, I find myself engrossed in fascinating programs on the A&E and History Channel. They've pretty much helped me to be pretty impressive at social functions, and I just found out today that I can purchase DVDs of my favorite A&E and History Channel programs right through HealthyLife.net. You should visit HealthyLife.net and order your favorite A&E and History Channel program DVDs as well, and then discover how many people you can impress during your next social occasion.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
Okay, we have returned, and I'm taking notes just as fast as I'm talking. I think sometimes there's just so much going on. I get really excited about astrology that way because it reflects reality. And, you know, the more you are prepared, the more you're aware of what the energies are producing and how the planets are participating in just expressing our journey. Because astrology cannot cause anything to happen. It's a reflection of life. But when we're tuned in to these energies, then we can maximize the benefit of them and the teachings of what they can also show us. So let's say a little more about this full moon before we move on.
Well, I wanted to make another point with that, and that was excellent what you said. You know, that's exactly why we study astrology and why we, you know, do these kinds of talks for people and so on, right? You know, it's getting informed. Mercury, for the full moon, Mercury will have opposed Chiron in the sign of Aries. So, again, we have a double statement on the Aries-Libra theme, right? You know, and Chiron is retrograde. Another one of the retrograde planets won't turn direct until December, and it's moving through the sign of Aries. So there's an awful lot of people on the planet and perhaps listening to the show that might be doing a Chiron return right now as well, too, right? You know, so Chiron in the sign of Aries is one of its slowest transits, spends 9 years in the sign of Aries. But we've got that as well. And Chiron, we know that as the wounded healer archetype and, you know, so on. I always think of it as destiny. Well, you know, for one, it's a destiny archetype, you know, that Mercury aligned in an opposition with Chiron. brings that sense of fatedness or destiny to the moment, right? But Chiron is also a maverick archetype, right? And so that Mercury opposing the Chiron, the moon will have traveled over that just before it goes full, and so on. This is, about you on a breakthrough, about you maybe trying something new or different in terms of the way you're processing information or the way you're connecting those dots or the way you're speaking up, the way you're taking action, all of that kind of stuff aligned with that. And certainly Mars trine Jupiter, it is, the suggestion is that you're at this kind of peak moment for action taking that is likely to deliver the goods in some kind of greater benefit way or greater capacity, greater potential way. It's got more sway, this kind of transit.
It's a risk-taking transit. You will feel more courageous, I think, to take risks. And it could be as simple as having a conversation you've been stressing about. It doesn't mean, skydiving necessarily, unless that's the risk you want to take. But, you can just feel more bravado. Is that the right word?
Yeah, and the risk-taking that you take feels natural, too. It's kind of a natural next step. It just feels like you've got the energy to support that risk-taking, whatever it is. And whenever you take a risk at the right moment, it tends to work in your favor.
Right. I'm going to give you a sports analogy. So I played soccer my whole life. Well, not my whole life, because for many years I haven't, but well into my 30s, I will say. And when I used to always have people ask me, does it hurt when the ball hits your head? And I said, well, not if you attack it. Like, if you just sit there and let it hit your head, it's going to hurt, right? But if you actually, with your forehead, attack the ball, you can barely even feel it, right? And if you just even give it a little knock, like boom, it actually just ricochets off your head and you can direct it. And it's amazing what it can do, right? So it doesn't take much, but you have to be the one taking the step toward it. And it literally, you will never even feel as if it's hit your head. It's the same kind of thing where you're actually having to step into something and directing it with your will, which is Mars, and Mars rules the head, which is why this analogy came to my head. And it's amazing what you can do with it that you didn't know you could do. And it might look dangerous to someone else in this instance, but it's not at all. It doesn't hurt. It feels natural, and you're able to use another part of your body besides your foot in this instance, right, to become more effective with what you're doing. So it's the same sort of thing. It's like, for lack of a better word, attack, because attacking something, going after it, is very much a Mars thing. So, really bridling that energy and directing it with your will. This is what I want. And as you do that, things open up. That's what Jupiter says. I want to see your confidence. I want to see your effort. I want to see your passion, and I will show you more. I will show you the goal. Here it is, all net. Take it. So that's what the transit will do for you if you're stepping into the ring or, doing a little extra. And it doesn't have to be a lot to bring great results.
Excellent. That was an excellent analogy.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I love that.
Got to mix it up here a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see that very strong planetary pair under a full moon like that, because that really does show like a channel for release, for movement, for progress, for change, for transformation, for things that are exciting in your life to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And the week will finish off with the sun moving into Scorpio, and Ceres forming a nice trine to Mercury forming a nice trine to Ceres. So kind of finishes off well, I think, that week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's obviously more to look forward to in November, as we've already talked about.
Yeah. And just as we finish off the last week of the month, on the 26th, Venus and Neptune square. So, we've got all of this really dynamic energy. The last week of the month has a little bit more challenge, I think. Venus-Mercury having to go on a little bit more faith when you can't really see things very clearly, right? And coming to the end on the 30th, We have the Sun squaring Saturn. So we are, and that's a last quarter square, so there's, kind of a shift going on. And on that day, Mars will leave Libra for Scorpio. So we're into Mars and Scorpio. It's a 5 to 6 week transit. And on the very last day of the month, we have Mercury trine Jupiter again. And that is, by the way, Halloween, so I don't know what that's going to be for the kids to celebrate like it has been over the past couple of years with COVID being in the way of all of that. But I like.
But that trine is nice. I mean, maybe a new creative way to celebrate it.
Yeah, so it's looking like it'll finish off well.
That sounds good. Like finish, stick the landing at the end of October.
Yeah.
One thing, a Venus-Neptune square can also be, as can happen at this time of year. Immune systems might get a little taxed. The weather's changing, so it's important that you kind of beef up your vitamin C and everything else around that time. Nothing feels good when you've got a cold. Right, so that Venus-Neptune square can result in some kind of effect around your health and your immune system.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Neptune always rules the immune system. So for now, pump up.
Yeah, get ready and plan ahead, and so you don't have to. So you can just kind of cruise through that one. Venus does move quickly, so it's not hanging out there for a while. Not to worry yourself too much there, but it's just important to have this information ahead of time. All right, well, I just feel like we delivered a book. I don't know about you, but I think there's a lot here. And I'm excited to see what it all holds for so many of you, and to hear from some of you what's going on in your life. We love connecting with you all as we do, and I feel so grateful to be able to do this work and to be with you every month, Rose, here. So much fun.
Oh, me too.
You can tell we love what we do.
Yes, we do.
So we're wishing you all just starry delight in the next month and a lot of growth and movement and just an empowered feeling as you move forward into your future. Until next time, namaste.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now, this same technology is available to you. They have the best earthcasting coders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. earthchannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things, like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget, web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now, so come to earthchannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 800-849-8978. That's 800-849-8978.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
When you need a positive point of view, turn to HealthyLife.net, your 24/7 radio network for a better future.